Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Weekender. And boy, it's been another great weekend for both of us again. Um, but to be honest, I had a fun little intro I was going to say, but I might save it till the end. But first of all, Quinn, how are you, mate?
If I have any idea about what your intro is going to sound like, you don't have to do it at all if you don't want. Don't feel pressured to do it. But no, I'm great, mate. I'm great. Obviously, like you said, another good weekend of footy. A few interesting things popped up over the week, so it was plenty to talk about. But yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good. It's a Tuesday, so we're recording a little bit later than usual, but gives us another day to have a few more stories pop out that we probably would have missed. So it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, no, love it, mate. Well, it's funny. We were trying to decide who was going to do the intro tonight, and I went to give you the reins, and you gave me the Morris Morrison Jr. snubbed, and sort of it's rubbing off on you, isn't it?
It is. It is. I love the passion that he showed by doing that. So I thought I'll try and replicate that here on the podcast. And I handed you back the phone and said, "No, piss off." So you can do it. So keep the fans familiar with what they're used to. You know, you don't want to change things too much. So I'll let you handle that one. But yeah, no, there you go.
Well, should we start there? I know it was definitely a talking point from the weekend, and it was something that you very rarely see on a footy field or on the bench, or in any sport really. Yeah, talk us through it. How did you feel being a Richmond fan?
Yeah, well, I didn't see it during the game. Actually, I missed it. I didn't see it till after the fact when obviously people were posting videos and talking about it a fair bit. But I see both sides of it. From one point of view, I'm happy that he shows those kind of emotions and he is invested and he does care that much about being taken off the ground and he's probably beating himself up a little bit. But at the same time, you don't do that. It's not a good look. It's a selfish look. If the coach tries to talk to you and another coaching staff is handing you the phone, you pick up that call every day of the week. And it didn't end there. If you saw the Richmond boys singing the song after the game, Morris was sitting there with his head down like this the whole time and didn't seem interested. He was very disinterested with the whole singing the song process and the fact that the boys got the win. And that's not what you want to see. It's all good and well to be invested and emotionally attached to the way the game pans out and the fact that he got subbed out. That's fine. I think you got to handle it in a better way than what he did.
Yeah. I was watching it live. I saw it live, and I thought, oh boy, that's not great. I think that's something that doesn't endear you well to a coach, in particular a new coach or an interim coach. It's not great, and it just makes things difficult during the week, doesn't it? Like, do you punish him and put him in the VFL after that, or do you get around him, figure out what's going on inside mentally, and maybe understand his point of view behind it? It's a bit of a tough one, and all good coaches would know how to handle that sort of situation. But yeah, it would be a bit of an awkward week for Morris, and I'm sure he regrets it looking back on it. And he's a young player; he will learn from it. He's probably not the first young player to do something similar. But yeah, it's not a great look. And if that was one of my players, I probably wouldn't love it as well.
Yeah, no, it's not a great look, like you said. And each coach will handle, all their plays differently. And I know usually at Richmond, it's a player by player thing. It's not sort of, you don't you don't deal with them all the same way. So it depends on who the player is. So they'll know how to handle Morris and what the right and appropriate actions should be going forward. But yeah, it's not a good look. And, it's safe to say he probably won't do it ever again.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be very, very surprised if he didn't. And it's probably a good thing that he's learned that lesson early on in his career as well. So see what comes out of that. But a big talking point, probably more over the last 24 hours, is this idea of a wild card round leading into the finals, a bit similar to what the NBA do with their play-ins. When I first saw it, I was like, oh, it's a bit different, but the more I've thought about it, I'm all for it. I reckon it'd be great.
Does it? Because I was thinking about this myself, because I agree. I love the idea of it. I think it is a good idea. But do you think it has something to do with the fact that both our clubs could potentially finish just outside the 8, and this would be a good chance to get us back in there? Or do you actually, wholeheartedly think that it would be a good idea? Because the more I think about it, the more I think, nah, this would be good for the competition. And we see teams every year that are very unlucky not to make it, and to have this wild card round, it would definitely mix things up and change things around a fair bit.
Yeah, No, I don't think it has nothing to do with like our teams. I just think it would be a great idea. Everyone talks about how even the competition is. So to have something like this, where the quality of the teams will still be pretty good. I think when you look at the teams that are vying for 9th, 10th, 11th at the moment, like they're all making a serious charge towards it, towards the top 8. So I think whoever missed out this year, I think could easily mount a case for having an impact in September. So I think that to have this. Would be a great idea. And I think you just got to evolve, don't you? Like you can't just stay still and do the same things over and over again. I think the competition needs to evolve, and I think it'd be great. And especially when we get to 19, 20 teams, I think something like this would be great.
Yeah, exactly right. I think it's all about evolution and people complain about the game changing and I've had my complaints in the past as well, but I think if you look over the history, the game has constantly been changing. And this is a change I personally think, yeah, would definitely work for the better. Do you think it's too soon for the AFL just to bring it in this year? Like already round 18, 19. Is it too soon for the AFL to introduce that now? Or is it something we save maybe for next year and hopefully the competition's still pretty even?
It's probably too soon now, I think. Oh, yeah, it is round 18. Like, I don't know why they didn't potentially think of this a bit earlier. I think it's probably too soon to do this year. Or if they do it this year, does it change? Other teams maybe like a Frio or a Sydney, or I'm trying to think of the teams that are probably just below that section there. Like, does it give them further incentive to crack on this year and keep their chances alive, because we've probably written off those two teams as making the finals. So does it keep teams like that alive? I think it's probably too soon for this year, but I'd love to see it introduced next year.
Yeah, 100%. Well, it also provides another opportunity as well. Like, I mean, you look at, like I'll use us at Richmond as an example because it's the obvious one for me. But you look at us, and we've obviously ruled out Tom Lynch for the rest of the season. Now, obviously, finals, they're possible, but not super likely for Richmond at the moment. But if we think that, all right, if this round comes in and it's another opportunity, do we try and get him right for that wild card round? Like, and that's teams will be looking at options like that. But I think the big one for me is we could see Gold Coast play a final with this wild card round as well for the first time in history.
Exactly right. So I think it just opens up more opportunities for teams and clubs, and just further incentive to do things. But yeah, I think that's the next step in the evolution of the AFL. I think it's this and potential draft lottery as well. I think they're the two things I think the AFL probably needs to introduce over the next 5-10 years, or maybe even sooner with the wildcard stuff. But I think it's just part of the natural evolution, and just to keep things exciting. I think a few things in the system are a little bit broken in the AFL when it comes to the draft. And you look at teams like North Melbourne who are consistently down the bottom. Like the draft and things like that don't work for every single club. So it's not a guarantee that you're going to rebuild properly. I mean, Carlton's another point, but it seems like they're probably starting to come good now, but it's taken a long time. So there's no guarantees with that. So I think the AFL does need to evolve with certain things. And we probably don't like the fact that we copy other sports, or we copy American sports, but I mean, you got to follow what works and what people love as well.
Yeah, and I think it's about drawing a line also where you don't have to copy everything they do. I think there's some things we can definitely leave out and, keep our game individual the way that it already is. But yeah, you're right. You pick the right things and things that do work really well for other leagues and you think that could implement well to our sport, and that they're the ones that you do bring across. So something like this, I'm definitely all for. It'll be interesting watch to see what the AFL does do, and if they do it as soon as this year. I mean, I would like to see it. I just don't know if the AFL is organised enough to make it work so quickly. That's my only concern there. But otherwise, I'd be more than happy to see it.
Yeah, I feel like it would be too rushed if it came in now. I mean, there's only 6 weeks left. I think that's a bit too soon to introduce this new idea and add on an extra set of games, because I think there was already an extra round of games this year with gather rounds. So to add another one on with 6 weeks notice is probably not a great thing to do, but who knows? I mean, we wouldn't complain if it meant our teams made it into the finals somehow. But yeah, it'd be interesting. I was talking to a couple of Carlton people earlier today about it, and they were saying the wild card round for Carlton would have been so good last year, because we probably would have backed ourselves to have an impact in the finals last year from finishing ninth, because we had a pretty good season. We obviously know how it ended, but that would have given us an extra game. We would have got Sam Walsh back for that next week as well. And then this year, we're in a pretty similar situation. So from a personal and Carlton point of view, it would be great. So I think it just benefits teams in those situations. So I'd love it. I feel like we can talk about this all night.
We honestly could, because I think the possibilities of what could happen are genuinely endless. So it's a topic that I can't wait to talk about a little bit more, hopefully after hearing that the AFL is introducing it, but we can probably wrap it up there. But you were talking about Carlton, and we all know what's coming. So do you want to get the Blues out of the way? Because I know you've probably got plenty to say about them.
Well, just got one thing to say, mate. Blues are back. Blues are back. Can you believe it? Feet still haven't touched the ground after Saturday.
Now, you've been floating everywhere. You've been floating all over the place. Trying to work with you yesterday was an absolute nightmare. But, they are back. They are back. And I was there. I was at the game, so I witnessed it as well. And they're playing some seriously good football at the moment. There's no denying that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you essentially used my membership to go on the weekend as well. So I was sitting in the bougie seats, and you're in the Carlton Nuffy area, which I love as well. But you got to experience it firsthand, which was great. How was that experience in there? I know you were definitely the odd one out.
It was something different, because I'm an AFL member myself. So where I sit normally for Richmond games, it's a fairly neutral section where you're surrounded by all fans. So it was interesting being surrounded by purely one supporter base, but it was a very loud supporter base. And considering how one-sided the game was, it was interesting for a neutral fan that was probably hoping for a much closer game and a more interesting result than what turned out. But no, it was very passionate, to say the least.
Yeah, it was an incredible game. I still can't really believe what happened. None of us expected us to dominate and demolish Port Adelaide like we did, and to win by 50 points against a team that's won 13 in a row and 9 in a row at Marvel as well. It was quite remarkable, incredible, and I think that establishes Carlton as back. I think definitely, those 3 wins in a row that we had before Port Adelaide. You could argue that the opposition wasn't as strong, but to do it against Port Adelaide and win big again, that's 4 games in a row by over 50 points. It's quite incredible, the turnaround, and in such a short period of time as well. Like, it's a complete tale of 2 seasons in one, really, for Carlton. It's crazy. So still can't believe it, but we're not there yet. There's still 6 rounds to go, and I think we need to win 4 of our next 6 to make it, really. But it is a tough run. But so destiny's in our own hands. It's quite still. It's incredible, but definitely not complaining. It's a good time to be alive as a Carlton fan, and right at this moment, you never know when things might change, as we've seen recently. But loving it at the moment.
Oh, I love how you specified there that right at this moment, and you weren't getting too carried away.
It was only 5 weeks ago where we were an absolute rabble. So I know how quick things can change. So just loving this moment.
Yeah, no, it's a beautiful attitude to have towards football. It's great. It's great. And the Blues are playing good footy, as much as I hate admitting it. It's hard to deny that they're going to be. Well, they're going to challenge a lot of teams in the back half of the season. 6 games left to go. They're going to challenge a lot of those teams and give themselves their best shot at making the finals. So, best of luck, I guess.
Do you think Carlton can cause damage in the finals if they do make it?
Judging by the form that they're in, yeah, absolutely. I mean, Harry Mackay obviously is going to miss most of the season, if not all of it now. But if you make finals, then he's a chance to come back and have an impact. The form that some of your players are in, like Adam Chera is killing it at the moment. Charlie's obviously leading the Coleman. You're well positioned to cause damage. But like you said, 5 weeks ago, you guys have just come off 6 losses in a row. So it'll be tough. But with the current form that you're in, then absolutely yes.
Yeah. Well, I think there was a stat: no teams won 5 in a row by 50 plus points. I think it's only happened twice, and both times it was Geelong, and they made the grand final in those years. So, yeah, with West Coast this week, you'd expect a 50-plus point win, given everyone else's history against West Coast this year. So, I mean, it's It's I mean, I say it a lot. It's incredible. It's unbelievable at the moment. So see how we go. But obviously, 1 week at a time. Beat West Coast this week, and then you look ahead. It's Collingwood on a Friday night. That would be absolutely massive. There'll be 90,000+ at the G that night, you'd think, and imagine the scenes if that gets pulled off.
Yeah, well, I don't want to imagine those scenes, so we'll move on from there. But you did sound very well media trained there with the 1 week at the time comment. You sound like you know what you're
Well,
talking
as I
about.
said, as
You've
I
done this
said, mate, just
before.
trying to live in this moment. You don't
Yeah,
know how
yeah,
quick
yeah.
things can change. So, it's been such a miserable season, and that was some of the lowest points of supporting Carlton was through that 6 week period. And for things to turn around so quickly, it's incredible. And I'm just trying to enjoy it as much as possible because you never know when that could turn the other way.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, you can enjoy that in your own time while we move on to another topic now because we're all sick of talking about Carlton. And for one thing that I love to see during the week was we talked about Stewie Dew last week and how he's the whole firing process went down in terms of him losing his job at the Gold Coast Suns. But I think basically everybody in the football world was smiling from ear to ear to see that he'd landed himself a new coaching gig with the Australian cricket team and probably took a few of us by surprise as well.
Is that confirmed that he's one of the coaches there?
Well, no, it's not confirmed, but he was in all the Cricket
Yeah.
Australia gear and was with some of the other coaches and players. So he could just be there, I don't know, as a mentor or just someone to seek advice from. I'm not quite sure of the role. I don't know if it's come out yet what he is doing there. But if it is a coaching gig or even if it's just him getting away on holiday and enjoying himself, either way, best of luck to him because I think everyone was a little bit flat with the way it all transpired because Stewie Dew, as we know, is one of the better blokes in football. So it's good to see him moving on quickly and doing something else.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he got over there pretty quickly, didn't he? Hasn't even been a week since he got sacked. So straight over to England and straight into the Australian cricket team. So no, it's good to see him. Sort of get away and get amongst that. I think he'll definitely be back in footy at some stage. He's he's from all reports a really good coach and really good footy brain and succeeding on the Gold Coast is a tough task for anyone. So I think he'll definitely be back in some capacity, but I think he definitely needs a well-earned break from everything that happened.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think he's one of those people that knows how to bring a team together and get a group of people to really come together strongly. So I think he'll do that wherever he goes. And yeah, like you said, hopefully it is football, and I reckon it will be. So happy to move on from there.
Yeah, well, while we're on the Suns, we just had news come through that Lockie Weller did his ACL for the second time, which is absolutely devastating for him.
Yeah, that's heartbreaking news. It's whenever you see an ACL injury, it's one of those ones you just kind of shudder at because how high, if I can't even speak, how high the impact of it is and how long that those players will be out for. Thanks for laughing at me. It's it's one of those ones where you shake your head in disbelief, and then to see it happen twice, and it's happened to a few players over our time where they've done multiple ACL injuries in their career, but to happen back to back would just be so flattening for him because that's essentially 2 years out of the competition now, and it's a hard enough competition to make it in and to play well in, but especially coming off 2 ACL injuries now, it's going to be a long road for Lockie Weller.
Yeah, you really feel for the guy, and he's a pretty integral part of that team. I know in the 2020 and 2021 seasons, it was great for him. Super consistent. So yeah, he'll be a big loss for them, and there's still a chance for the final. We can't write them off as well. We know what an interim coach or what a coach sacking can do for a team, and they might go on a run and put themselves in the 8. So you never know what happens there. So it's going to be an interesting watch. But yeah, you really feel for him. But something do you remember the Lockie Weller trade when he went to Gold Coast from Freo?
I remember when he got traded, but I don't remember the details of it. No, explain it to
Well,
the others that don't know.
Gold Coast traded their number 2 pick for him,
Yes.
who Freo used on Andy Brayshaw, I believe. So
not a bad bet. Not a bad bet.
Not sure what Gold Coast were doing there. They've done some interesting trades over the time, as we know. They've definitely made some list management bad list management decisions. So Yeah, anyway. That was just a side note. I didn't want to. I'm not. No disrespect to Lockie Weller, but I just thought that was it. That was a interesting trade, and I heard that come up the other day. So bizarre.
Yeah, definitely an interesting trade. But like you said, Lockie Weller's a very serviceable player. I think he's quite good. It's just a shame he hasn't been able to get in the park the last season, and now could be another year on top of that. But yeah, it's probably not worth a pick 2. You wouldn't have thought. So it's an interesting decision there
No,
from the
no one's
Suns
really
to do
worth
that.
the pick two. Like you're trading pick two for a Dusty Martin or a Paddy Cripps or a Charlie Kidd. Like they're the sort of players you're trading pick two for. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it's rare. It's rare air. It's rare
Yeah.
air that you get traded for those sorts of picks. And yeah, Lockie Weller probably wasn't in that sort of rare air, but
No.
best of luck to him. I think the only thing he can do now at the moment, while he is hold his head high, that he probably is one of the better looking AFL players in the competition. So he's always got that to rest on.
That is true. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Speaking of good looking, Clarko, he's back at the Roos.
I thought you were about to talk about me, but yeah, Clarko is back at the Roos. He's, I mean, a lot of people would have been happy to see that, although he did make comments that he said he might not be back officially coaching this season. So he might still sit the rest of the year out, but it is just good to have his face back around Arden Street. And there's a lot of talks that he's been watching the under-18s championships as well and doing a lot of scouting from that point of view. So it's good to see him back involved in football, even at a smaller capacity.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's always great, and especially for the club as well. Such a big getting Clarko there, and yeah, then their on-field performance this year has obviously been very, very poor. They've lost 14 in a row, so I think they need something to lift their spirits again. And as good as Ratton's been for them, I think having Clarko there and the whole reason why there was so much hype and not hype, but like excitement around North's young list and whether the direction they were going in. I think it's great to have Clarko back there, whether it's in a casual or full-time capacity. But I reckon he'll be back if he's back at the club now, easing himself back in. I think he'll be back in the hot seat in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, whether it's a couple of weeks or however long it is, he definitely will be back, which is great. It's great to look forward to for North fans, North players. It'll definitely get them up and about, and he's not necessarily an interim coach, but he's almost coming back in. Now, we don't see that happen too often, where an interim coach takes over and that coach comes back. So it'd be interesting to see what effect that has on the Roos. But it'd be just good to have him back in general, I think.
Yeah. Before we come to our closing segments, I'm not sure if you've got any good or bad blokes this week, but before we get there, I do have a bit of a gripe. So the MRO and the tribunal have done their deliberating, and they've given their findings. And it might be a little bit biased, but Jordan Boyd got suspended for 3 weeks for that tackle on Darcy Byrne-Jones, as you may or may not be aware, Quinn.
Yeah, it just got released probably an hour ago, half an hour ago. I saw that.
Yeah, so I get the crackdown on the tackling, and as soon as you tackle someone and their head hits the ground, like you're responsible for it. I get that, but when Jordan Boyd gets 3 weeks for a tackle, like it was a pretty aggressive tackle. There's no denying that. But for him to get 3 weeks for that, Zach Merritt got 1 week for a tackle as well. It's going to cost him a potential Brownlow. And then you got people throwing elbows and only getting fines. So tell me how that makes sense, Quinn.
Well, Marcus, you're preaching to the choir if we're talking about MRO inconsistencies. I've been saying this all season that they don't know what they're doing, and they put everything into the same category in terms of their grading systems. And when they decide they want to crack down on one particular thing, they focus heavily on that and tend to push everything to the side. I said that earlier in the season when I saw Nathan Broad get 4 weeks and Cozzy Pickett, who left the ground and flattened Bailey Smith, got 2. Bailey didn't get concussed, and obviously that's the reason why he didn't get that many weeks. But it was a deliberate non-football action, whereas Broad got 4 for a tackle. Like you said, it was definitely aggressive, and he slung him, not denying that. But to get 4 for that, I thought was shocking at the time. So it's no surprise to me whatsoever to see, like you said, Boyd get 3 for the tackle, and then I know who you're referring to. Dustin Martin only got the fine, and there was someone else as well that threw a punch, I believe, and I think it was Diane Newcomb from the Hawks threw a punch as well, and I think only got a fine as at the same time. So I'm not surprised in the slightest that the inconsistencies are still there.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, so we're going to have someone that's not going to win a Brownlow because of a tackle that was like an accidental aggressive tackle. Like, no one's going to tackle someone and knock them out. Like, people are just that's a lifetime of training on how to tackle. And if a player hits their head on the ground, it's almost bad luck. No player's intentionally going to knock them out in a tackle. But yeah, and then we've got people doing stuff outside the rules of the game, like throwing elbows or punches or those big bumps. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, what if Jordan Boyd threw an elbow and Dustin Martin did the tackle? Would the outcome still be the same? I don't think so.
Well, are you saying that because you think Dusty got special treatment, or because I still think that the way that they've cracked down on those tackles this year, I think he would have gotten, I don't know if it would have been 3, maybe it would have been less because of his name, but I still think he would have gotten weeks for the tackle. I just, the way we've seen it crack down this year, and I know what you're talking about with Zach Merritt potentially not winning a Brownlow because of it. And I agree. I think it'd be a real shame. I think Zach Merritt won't win the Brownlow because there's someone called Nick Dacos running around. But if he wasn't, then yeah, absolutely, he could absolutely miss out on something like that because of a natural football act. And I don't agree with it. I do want to see these slings and these dump tackles get removed from the game, but I think they've probably gone too far the other way now.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think they've gone too far the other way. Like, I think the punishment is too harsh for what they're doing. Like, I know you got to make a stand to, like, stamp it out, and you got to get harsh with it early on, but it's just it just doesn't make any sense to me. Like that, like, for me, an elbow or a malicious bump or a jumper punch and things like that aren't within the game are getting less punishment for things that are within the game that are accidental. Blows my mind. But
yeah,
anyway,
and this,
I needed to get that off my chest.
No, and I agree, because this was the same argument, like I said, I was having earlier in the season, where non-football acts weren't getting punished as highly as an actual football act was, and it was disappointing to see. But now you've brought it to my attention, and things that you focus too heavy on, and then things you're forgetting about, and all that. I just want to say, what has happened to the dissent rule? They've just completely thrown that out the window. I remember seeing it on the weekend a few times where umpires were getting sprayed, and not a blink of an eye. If this happened over a year and a half ago, it would have been a completely different story. But I honestly feel like the umpires have just now been told, nah, don't worry about it anymore. It's all good. But it's still a rule. It's still written in the books. And for the life of me, I don't know why they're not paying it anymore. And there's another one as well, which a lot of people don't know about. But unless they've changed it and I've missed it and I'm the idiot here, which there's a good chance, let's be honest. But I'm pretty sure that there's a rule where if the ball goes over the boundary line and you've got the ball in your hands, you have to give it directly to the boundary umpire, and you can't just throw it at the ground or drop it at his feet. Because I remember they were paying free kicks for that. That's not getting paid anymore either. Now, I don't like that rule, but if you're going to introduce a rule and then at one stage pay free kicks, don't then 6 months later stop paying free kicks if the rule still exists. Either scrap the rule or be consistent all year round. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. We've opened a can of worms here, haven't we? I've got you fired up about the MRO and umpiring.
we could go all night with this. We won't, because there's a point, but we could go all night with this stuff. And this is what I mean when I say it, when we talked about the wild card round earlier, and I said the AFL I don't think is organised enough to do something this quickly. And you look at things like this, and it's just proof of that. That they can't even get the things they've been doing for years right. Just to introduce something new this quickly would be a disaster. So yeah.
100%. Well, it'd be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, needed to get that off that check, because that Jordan Boyd tribunal hearing went for a while. So bizarre. Anyway, did you have anything to add to your weekend or your good bloke segment?
No good blokes this week. Everyone was a shit bloke, so pull your heads in, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to get better for next week. So all shit blokes this week, unfortunately. So no one to mention, but we'll keep a close eye out for next week and see how we go there. But no, that's pretty much it. I'm happy to wrap it up there. It's been a big week, like I said, plenty of talking points. Pointy end of the season now. It's going to be an interesting round 19 coming up. So plenty to look forward to.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, footy is, as we've been saying the last couple of weeks, it is the business end of the season. It's the most exciting part of the season. And yeah, a month ago, I didn't think I'd be up and about for round 19, but it's great. It's what footy's all about is to the run home and to see where teams finish, see where your team finishes, and yeah, it's going to be super exciting. So very much looking forward to it, mate. And who have the Tigers? Oh, you got Hawthorn this week, so it's a big game for Richmond. It's a bit of a banana skin game too.
Yeah, it absolutely is. I mean, we didn't talk about the Tigers during the episode, and I was happy not to. I was very disappointed with what we did against West Coast, and we got another bottom of, or towards the bottom of the ladder team in Hawks this week, and I'm just waiting for us to stuff it up one way or another. It'd be such a Richmond thing to do, but you're right, it is a very banana skin kind of game. So it's yeah, we got Hawks on the Saturday afternoon, so it'll be an interesting watch for me, and I'll be looking forward to it nonetheless.
Yeah. Well, then Blues have got West Coast, so we're playing a couple of lowly teams. So, I mean, yeah, if we can't win games like this, you probably don't deserve to play finals. So, I think it's just a game that we simply just need to bank the 4 points and move on.
100%. Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. Well, that will do it for us, I reckon, for another week. And thanks for tuning in. Make sure you give us a like, give us some good reviews, give us 5 stars, depending on what you're listening to, and have a good week. Hope your team wins next week, and we'll chat after round 19.